One of these men is the first person in the world to fly through the air with a rocket strapped on his back. Watch. What is your name, please?
My name is Harold Graham.
My name is Harold Graham.
My name is Harold Graham.
Only one of these men is the real Harold Graham. The other two are imposters and will try to fool this panel. Tom Poston, Jayne Meadows, Johnny Carson, and Kitty Carlisle on To Tell the Truth with your host, Bud Collier.
Thank you very much, and welcome once again to Tell the Truth, brought to you this week by Anacin, the headache remedy with a special combination of ingredients to relieve pain, fight depression, calm jittery nerves. Anacin. Jane, nice to have you with us again tonight.
Thank you, Bud. It's lovely to be back. It's been, I guess, about a year.
Yes, it has. Don't make them so long next time. And Kitty, welcome back to you.
Thank you.
Joy to have you with us again. Panel, will you kindly open your envelopes? And for the first time tonight, take out your affidavit cards and follow along on the first one with me as I read it. I, Harold Graham, am a rocket engineer. For the past 6 months, I have been acting as test pilot on a rocket belt program. Wearing this rocket and belt, I have flown above obstacles and skimmed along some 35 feet over the ground. I recently demonstrated the military capabilities of the equipment by taking off from a landing craft and flying 200 feet to the beach. Among the interested spectators at this amphibious assault exercise was the President of the United States. I am the first man in history to fly with rockets strapped to my back. Signed, Harold Graham. Panel, you heard these three young and stalwart gentlemen, each claiming to be Harold Graham, rocket engineer, and we'll start this questioning with Tom Poston. Tom?
Thank you, Bud. Number one, what kind of fuel do you use in your belt rocket?
Hydrogen peroxide.
Number two, what is the eventual use that you plan to put this kind of apparatus to?
Well, we hope the uses will be unlimited. Right now, we're interested in military, primarily.
Thank you. Number three, how high can this go?
We have gone approximately 30 feet.
I see. Number one, could you tell me what safety device do you have in case of a failure of any kind?
In case of a failure, you're pretty much on your own.
Pretty much on the ground.
You know you're not going to go up, right? Thank you.
Jane.
Number one, how much does the fuel cost, the hydrogen peroxide, cost a gallon? Do you know number two?
No.
Number three?
I don't know.
Where do you get this fuel, number one? Number two? Number three?
I don't know.
You planning an excursion, Jane?
Somebody just gave it to you? You don't know how it got into your rocket? You don't know how the fuel got into the rocket? Never mind.
Asking?
I'm asking number one, but number one doesn't seem to know.
Oh,
You didn't use the number. You just simply...
Oh, number one.
Yes. How do you get the rocket fuel into the belt?
Yes.
It's pure and simple, pretty much like putting fuel into your gas tank of your car.
Just you pipe it right in.
Johnny.
What do you hear from Steve?
Most interesting film. Number two, do you fly tourist or first class? I mean, is there any difference? How do you control your sideways movement? Number two.
Actually, that's done with your left hand.
With your left hand?
We have two handles on either side. One is the thrust, and the other is the lateral movement, right or left.
Number three, what speed can you attain with this contraption?
We can go approximately 35 miles an hour.
35 miles an hour.
That's maximum.
Number one, how do you reverse direction if you want to back up?
If you want to back up, you do the opposite. Instead of
going forward, yes.
pushing down on the tubes, you pull them up.
Kitty.
Well, I think this is one of the most exciting things I've ever seen, because this is what man has wanted to do all his life. Icarus put those wings on, and, you know, flying in a plane isn't the same as flying by yourself. How much does this thing weigh, number two?
120 pounds.
Number three, what does the spacesuit weigh by itself without the rocket belt?
Approximately 25 pounds.
Number 3 said he only went 30 yards, but it says here in the affidavit that you went 200 feet. Where did you do this?
The 300 feet foot jump, that was back at the plant.
I guess that's about it. Time for you now, for the first time tonight, to mark your ballots. So will you do so, please, right now, at this moment, no further questioning, and without consultation. Will you vote for number 1, number 2, or number 3? The team of challengers, as is our custom, will receive $250 for every incorrect vote. All ballots marked? All right, Tom, for whom did you vote?
I voted for number 1, Bud. These fellows are really... Willie Stein has done his usual remarkable job of casting the liars. They all look like they were cut from the same mold. It's a pretty good mold, by the way. I think the fella is embarking on a wonderful adventure. I wish I could help out with that project.
Jane, your vote.
Well, I voted for number 1, although they all look healthy enough to carry 120 pounds on your back. Was that it, while flying through the air? It's just mental telepathy. I think it's number 1.
All right, Johnny, what about you?
I voted for number 2 because I got all 3 of them last week, and I don't intend to break the streak.
Kitty, which one do you...
The taxi driver told me you got all 3 last week, so I'm with you. I voted for number 2. Number 3 said that he only went 30 feet. Number 1 said he went 300 feet back at the plant. It says here he went 200 feet flying to the beach in front of the president. So I voted for number 2.
Okay, there we have it. Our first die is cast, and we'll find out how true or false it may be as we learn which one of these 3 gentlemen is the real rocket engineer. Will the real Harold Graham please stand up? I go along and second what Kitty said. I think we all feel we're very proud of you. This is quite a new horizon you're attempting there. It takes a lot of courage. We're very proud to have you with us tonight. And also proud of Tom and Jane. You knocked off the first one real easily there. You both got it right. Let's find out about the others now, shall we? Incidentally, I want to tell you where Harold is. Harold is doing this experimental work as rocket engineer for Textron's Bell Aero Systems. Is that right?
That's correct.
Number 2, would you tell us your real name and what you really do?
Well, my name is Gene Hoban. I represent the Dover Corporation, the elevator division. I sell elevators.
To date, that's always been a little safer, I think. Number 3, your real name and what you do, please.
My name is Dennis Diebner. I work for the Kohler Company, and I sell bathtubs and other plumbing fixtures.
Man, that's really earthbound, that last one. Well, we checked the scoring, gentlemen. We find there were 2 incorrect votes at $250 each for a total this time of $500 from Anderson, as well as a gift package of the fine products from the makers of Anderson. We thank you very much. Continued success to you, sir. Good night. God bless you. Now, panel, may I present our next team of challengers?
What is your name, please?
My name is Joe Thornton.
My name is Joe Thornton.
My name is Joe Thornton.
And you've had a look. Now give a listen and follow along, if you will, please, panel, with your copies of this affidavit. I, Joe Thornton, am an American Indian. 5 years ago, I became interested in a sport in which my forefathers had pioneered. I took up the bow and arrow. This past summer, I went to Oslo, Norway, to compete in the international archery contests. Competing against the best archers from 16 nations, I broke 2 existing records and became the world's champion archer. Signed, Joe Thornton. Very well, as you heard, and did I. These 3 persons claim to be Joe Thornton, world's champion archer. We'll begin this cross-examination with Jayne Meadows. Jane?
Number 1, what was the existing record that you broke?
Well, actually, there were 2 that I broke.
There were 2?
Yes.
Was this number 2 held by a man or a woman?
By a woman.
By a woman? Number 2, what are the strings made of?
Dacron.
Dacron?
Yes.
Is that all they're ever made of?
Well, they used to be made of nylon, but it stretches, so now they're made of Dacron.
Number 3, how many shots are you allowed in a competition?
You fire 488.
488. And how far is the target, number 1?
Various distances.
Johnny.
Number 2, what is knocking? N-O's knocking.
The knocking is the feathers at the end of the arrow.
Number 1, why do they have different colored feathers?
Do they? We don't use feathers, we use other things. Plastic things.
Number 3, why do they often have different colored feathers?
Well, actually, we use plastic now, but they used to use different colored feathers to distinguish the arrows.
Number 2, do you shoot by instinct or by sight?
I shoot by sight.
Number 1, what's the difference between instinct and sight shooting?
Sight shooting, you have a sight on your bow. Instinct shooting, you do not.
You have an instinct on the bow.
Right.
Kitty.
Number 1, what tribe are you from?
Cherokee.
Is that Blackfeet?
Cherokee.
What is the generic tribe?
Oh, I'm sorry, Iroquois.
Number 2, what are your feathers made from now?
I use the plastic.
Plastic?
Yes.
Number 3, what were the strings made from before even nylon?
Either linen or the skin of an animal.
Number 1, what is the wood of the bow made from?
Well, the bows are not much wood anymore. They're fiberglass and maple, laminated.
Things have changed since
I was an artist.
since I was a papoose. Tom.
Bud, occasionally I'm caught short and fail to recognize people that I should. But in this case, I worked in a reasonably close association with one of the people on in the contestants, I think. However, they look enough different, but I don't believe I would forget this person's face, and I must disqualify myself because I think I know.
All right, Tom. However the vote goes, that will count as an incorrect vote. Well, I guess it gets us through the whole round then. We've come to the time of knocking our arrows, as the saying goes.
Fascinating.
Draw your own beads by instinct or
Couldn't we have time
sight.
in his questioning to ask more questions?
No, sorry. Wish you could.
We need it.
I'm sorry. You're wasting it right now. So get to the business of marking your ballots, if you will, please.
What is it?
And without consultation, mark them for number 1, number 2, or number 3.
Wait a minute.
All set? Jane, you marked? Okay. We'll go to you then, Jane.
Well?
For whom did you vote?
I'm voting for number 1, not only because she knew so many answers, but because I think this is one of those tricky things where the champion is a woman, and the man is in there as a ringer. We'll see how my mental telepathy does this time.
Okay. Johnny.
I voted for 1. I shoot a little bit myself, but the trouble with these people, they all are cued in so much about what it is that it doesn't help even if you know anything. I voted for 1.
Kitty.
I voted for number 3 on the basis of what I know about archery.
Basis of what you know. Okay. All righty, there we have it. We have 2 for 1 and 1 for 3, and Tom's, as I said, will count as an incorrect vote after we find out who's who and what's what. What'd you write on there? Robin Hood. Tom voted for Robin Hood. All right, here we go now in our moment of truth as we learn which one of these persons is the real world's champion archer. Will the real Joe Thornton please stand up?
It's 3.
Hey, thank you, sir, very much, and congratulations on your accomplishment. Nice to have you with us tonight. Let's find out about the others now, shall we? Number 1, we added the 1 incorrect vote that Tom disqualified himself for to your total, making it 3. What is your real name and what do you really do?
My name is Mary Gloin Payne, and I'm a secretary at American Heritage Publishing Company.
Thank you.
Are you Indian?
And number 2, I think, is the one that Tom recognized. Am I right, Tom?
Yes.
Number 2. What is your real name and what do you do, please?
My name is Sue Weintraub, and I'm a housewife and the mother of 4 children in New York City.
Well, we check the score and we find that you all did very well because there were 1, 2, 3 incorrect votes at $250 each for a nice plump total. You wouldn't do any better shooting with a bow and arrow on this of $750 to divvy up between you. That, of course, and a gift package of fine products from the makers of Anison. We thank you for being with us. Good night to you and good luck. Panel, here comes our third team of challengers.
What is your name, please?
My name is Henry Gross.
My name is Henry Gross.
My name is Henry Gross.
Follow along once again, panel, if you will, please, with your copies of this third affidavit. I, Henry Gross, am a professional water dowser. By using a divining rod and a seventh sense, which only a few people possess, I can locate water under the ground. I can also tell how deep underground the water is and at the rate at which it flows. I doused water for the first time in the schoolyard when I was 12 years old, and since then, I have found water for towns, industrial plants, and even water companies. I have found springs and underground streams from Colorado to the islands of the Caribbean, all with the use of a divining rod. I doused 3 wells on the island of Bermuda, where for 300 years no fresh water was supposed to exist. I have been the subject of 3 separate books by my late friend and business partner, Pulitzer Prize novelist Kenneth Roberts, signed Henry. 3 gentlemen panel, each one claiming to be Henry Gross, water dowser. Now, before we start, I have here a divining rod. Now, as you know, they at one time were made, or thought to be popularly made, of twigs of trees or willow wands or things of that sort. Today, they can be made, quite accurately, with any one of a number of materials. This happens to be nylon with some little wire binding and tips together. I'll pass it to you, Kitty. You pass it along the panel and pass it back to me, if you will, when you're through. Now, after you've looked at it, Kitty, we'll start this first round of questioning with you. Kitty?
Thank you. I'm fascinated because dowsing smacks of magic, and of course, everyone is fascinated by magic. Number 1, when you first discovered that you had this gift, what did you use as a divining rod?
Well, when I first discovered I had the gift, why, in those days I had to walk to find the water.
But what did you use? Willow wand, twigs, what?
Well, you can use anything.
I see. Number 2, what did you use?
Well, I think the first time I used apple tree twig.
Number 3, thank you. Number 3, when you first did this thing, did the wand pull you apart practically with its force?
No, not that forcible, but it did have a very decided bend.
Number 1, oh, I want to ask him many.
After the show, Kitty.
It really is fascinating. Number 3, how were you and Mr. Roberts associated? May I ask?
I met Mr. Roberts at his summer home in Kennebunkport, Maine, and he wrote several books about me. The first was Mr. Gross and his dowsing rod.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gross.
The second one was The Seventh Sense?
Let me ask number 2 a question. May I, Mr. Gross? Number 3. Number 2, could you tell me how you and Mr. Roberts were associated? What form of partnership?
Well, Mr. Roberts was very much interested in the work I did, and he wrote these books about me, and he decided he'd form a corporation, which he did. Called,
Johnny.
I'm next.
I'm sorry, Jane.
Number 2, could you give me the title of one of Kenneth Roberts' other books, one of his best-known books?
Well, Rabble in Arms.
Number 1, can you give me another one, another title?
Another title of Kenneth Roberts' book.
Another title of one of Kenneth Roberts.
Yes, he wrote Northwest Passage and
Thank you.
Arundel and March to Quebec.
Yes, thank you very much. Number 3, is there a grotto in Bermuda that you are familiar with?
A grotto?
Yes, a grotto.
I'm not familiar with it.
Number 2, would you say there was?
I'm not familiar with it.
Number 1?
My turn? This thing works all right.
Familiar?
Number 2, how did you discover when you were 12 that you had this power? Did you just walk out one day and look down and there it was?
No, I was walking over the fields with an old friend of mine, an old fellow about 70 years old. And we got to the edge of the woods, and he went over and he picked a twig off an old wild apple tree, forked twig, And he held it out, and it dipped down. And he said, there's water down there. That was my first experience.
Now, that's all the time we have. We can't proceed any further. Would you pass me the divining rod back, please, Johnny?
It's all wet. He found water right here.
Johnny, I'm surprised at you. I need this to find out which is the real one. All right. Now,
we haven't voted.
No, you're going to vote right now to find out who's who and what's what on our own moment as we come to the realization of whether we're right or wrong. We'll check that in just a moment. But right now, mark your ballots, if you will, please, panel. Without consultation, vote for number 1, number 2, or for number 3. Say when you're all set. Everybody set?
Foxy rascals.
Okay. Tom, for whom did you vote this time?
I voted for number 1. On account of the way he answered the question about the other titles of Mr. Roberts' book. He seemed to have them at his fingertips, or tongue.
Jane.
I also voted for number 1 for the same reasons, and because I didn't get an answer about the grotto in Bermuda. The other two said there wasn't, and I've been to it.
Mm-hmm.
So my vote
Johnny,
for number 1.
your vote.
I voted for number 2 because I understand he's going to make an LP album of his answer.
Kitty.
Fresh guy.
I voted for number 1. I thought originally it was number 3 because he looked sort of pixelated. But I think it's number 1 because of his knowledge of Mr. Roberts' works, too.
All right, there we have it. And we're on the way to finding out whether we're right or wrong as we learn which one of these gentlemen is the real water dowser. So will the real Henry Gross please stand up? Now, this is a very exciting thing, and to show you just what it's like, Tom, suppose you come down, would you please? You look the most dubious over there. Henry, would you come down here with me, please? Stand right about here, if you will. Now, what I'm going to ask you to do is Mr. Gross is going to take... He'll show you, sir? Mr. Gross, Mr. Poston. Tom Poston, Henry Gross. He's going to show you, he'll show you how to hold it in one hand. He'll hold the other end in his hand. Right. And he will find water in this building. Now, of course, we know it's running through pipes. Therefore, any time that you pass an area where there are pipes with water running, well, that'll be that. Now, what I want you to do, if you will, please, is when you're holding it with the one hand, don't bend or twist, but try to keep it from bending toward that source. Would you please? I mean it, literally. Okay, he'll show you how to hold it.
You take this hand. Like that, tight.
Like that, eh?
No, take this one. Hold it up.
Oh, this way.
Come around so you're standing more or less at his side here. That's the idea.
Oh, this way?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. Touch it. Now, we'll...
Tom, could you have stopped that?
I can't yet.
Yeah.
How about that? Is that the most amazing thing you ever felt? Thank you very much. You can go back and resume the seat if you will. Thank you. You have to admit, that's a real strange sensation, isn't it? You cannot control it. You cannot stop it. I tried this afternoon. You can't. Number 2, would you tell us your real name and what you really do, please?
My name is Roger Smith. I'm president of Byron Musser Incorporated, Advertising Arts Studio.
Thank you, sir. And number 3, your real name and what you do, please.
My name is Walter O'Neill. I'm a retired U.S. Treasury Inspector.
They have a divining rod of their own, those inspectors. Well, we thank you very much. In checking the score, we find that the panel was real smart. I guess they had divining rods. 3 were right, only 1 was wrong, but that's $250 plus a gift package of the fine products from the makers of Anderson, and I hope you had a pleasant visit with us. We enjoyed having you here. Good night. Good luck to you. That's all the time we have for tonight, except to welcome KGIN-TV Channel 13 in Grand Island, Nebraska, who just joined our network. Hope you enjoy being with us. Good night, panel.
Good night,
Bud.
Bud Collier saying good night from Anderson and reminding you to tell the truth. Good night, everybody.
To Tell the Truth is a Mark Goodson, Bill Todman production. Tell the Truth has been brought to you tonight by Dristan Decongestant Tablets, the new 3-layer tablet for effective relief from sinus congestion, hay fever, and cold distress. Johnny Olson saying goodnight from To Tell the Truth. The program was pre-recorded.